Martin for Amatis Training, and we've been working with Nick D. Nick, thank you so much for agreeing to be interviewed. Now, you've just completed the self-study diploma, the foundation, 3 practitioner courses, you did the oral preparation workshop, and you've passed your oral exam. So, first of all, congratulations. That's a fantastic achievement.
Thank
Um,
you.
Pleasure. And my first question to be should be really is, how did you find the experience of working with Amatis?
Very, very positive. I was surprised that even though I chose to go the self-study route and pay using my own money, I was surprised with the amount of backup support that I got. I think at times I possibly pushed it quite hard, but I got lots of responses to emails. I had somebody on the end of the phone for any obvious queries. It was very straightforward to get set up using the modules online, and overall it went very, very well. You obviously know in the very beginning, I did an awful lot of research, and I'm far from impulsive when it came to choosing a company. And you don't always make the right decisions, but I think on balance, I was very, very pleased with choosing Amatis for my training.
Okay, that's interesting because we obviously with the videos we can see we talk about the courses, etc., and how it builds people up with the sample papers, etc. But what I'm really intrigued about, because I know how diligent you are on it, what were the things you looked for in your research, and what made you choose Amatis?
I looked for a few things. Firstly, I wanted a local company. I didn't want one based overseas, and particularly one in a different time zone. Secondly, I wanted a company that appeared to specialize in business analysis rather than it being one of many, many things they offered for training. So there were numerous companies, many of them London based and India based, where they did business analysis or project management or product management or all these other different types of training. But in my opinion, I didn't consider them to be an expert at any individual element of those trainings because it appeared to be too broad, in my opinion. And the fact that I had somebody on the end of the phone like yourself, where I know there's a company behind it and it's not just 3 people who happen to be a front for that company, that was very important to me. It was a competitive price. And lastly, we spoke about that I didn't want to do certain modules which are available in the international diploma. And I was keen you offered the digital business change as one of your modules, as opposed to many, many companies force you to do the more basic version of the business analysis module at foundation and then almost repeat exactly the same thing again for the middle level. So they're the main reasons I chose you.
Okay, fabulous. Thank you very much indeed, and we are very pleased you did. So one final question before we disappear then is if you were to recommend Amatis to a friend or a colleague, what would you say?
Uh, I would say definitely yes. I found the modules very helpful online. I thought the search criteria was very useful. Um, I would say I benefited from having the paper copies. I know that not everybody opts for that as well. The two don't always go hand in hand, but I liked having both versions, something you can read and something you can follow on screen. Seemed to dovetail quite nicely for me. I would definitely recommend the fact you had your sample papers and you rotated the questions was very, very useful. You had the knowledge checks in there, which also was at least it stopped you rushing too fast through some of the syllabuses. If you can't even get the knowledge check right, you're going too quickly because the whole point of those is you're meant to be covering the basics before you move on further. And I thought your mock exams were nicely done in the fact that you didn't actually tell candidates on the fly which ones you got right and wrong. So uh, that was a useful exercise because there were always questions that are going to be trickily worded, and it's down to you to try and find out which ones you got right and wrong and for why, rather than just being told and told and told. You probably realised when I was doing my studying, I've got something verging on a photographic memory. It doesn't matter whether you rotate 40 questions. I can remember all the questions and all the answers. So and I can remember them with their rotated sequencing as well. What I couldn't remember, obviously, was if you didn't tell me in the very beginning which ones I got right and wrong, that's something I had to work out myself. So that was very useful as well. And another thing that I thought was very good was that some of the way you structure the questions were more challenging. They came up in the real exam because you deliberately suggested that there are multiple answers, but you didn't, like the exam, say there are two answers. You said there are multiple, and it could have been three, two, or four. So, in a way, for that reason, yours was slightly more challenging than the one you got on the day, because they always tell you the desired number of answers, don't they?
Absolutely. Yeah. Nick, thank you very much indeed.
Yeah.
That's a really good
But
summary.
that was a conscious decision, wasn't it? That
Yes.
you wanted to make it more challenging. And when we spoke at the very beginning, before I enrolled, you said that if you can pass our exams, you should be able to pass the accredited exams, because in a way, we're trying to make ours slightly more tricky.
Indeed.
So that was another reason that I decided to choose Amatis, because you had some very good pass rates, and you obviously have put quite a lot of thought into the way you want to structure your modules. So I was very pleased overall. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you very much indeed. On that, Nick, I'm going to say thank you very much for the interview, and have a lovely evening, and I'll see you soon.
Yeah. Thank you very much again. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.